Hey everyone, welcome back to the Geek Corner. I am going to geek out about my current favorite video game addiction, Halo 5. In particular, playing Halo 5 multiplayer online. Now, I think I've done other videos where I've talked about Halo 5. I might have a Geek and Dorks review on it. To give you the short, I like the Halo 5 multiplayer component a lot. A lot. The single-player campaign, while it's enjoyable, there's not a lot of memorable moments. The storytelling is not as solid as previous Halo games, and it's kind of a tradition for my wife and I to play Halo campaigns together, and I can tell you we only played through Halo 5 once, and that is extremely low. Typically for Halo games, we've played through them at least half a dozen times for each of the previous versions. Actually up till 4. I think 4 we might have only played through twice together. But 1, 2, and 3 we play through a lot. Now that there's so much awesome multiplayer with Halo 5, I've gotten a lot of value out of that game, but in a way that I didn't expect. Before, I didn't really like playing against other people. There were some certain game modes, and we're going to talk about one of those in particular that's coming back to Halo 5, that I enjoyed, but most of the time I like going against artificial intelligence enemies. To be honest, it's easier, it's less stressful. I have a bit more joy when I'm playing the game, which is kind of what I'm looking to get when I play video games. And I did have to go through this curve with Halo 5 where I had to throw myself into it and just get acclimated to it, get used to being beaten up on by people that were really, really talented and play Halo very, very well, and learn and develop from them. I found a couple of YouTubers that post videos on how you can play Halo 5 better. Just to give a shout out, Luke TheNotable. You can look him up on YouTube. It's Luke space and then TheNotable, I believe, is all together. He does some really good tips videos on how you can play Halo 5 better. He's also pretty funny, kind of entertaining guy. It's also great because I've been watching his channel grow and mine grow at almost the same pace. We're kind of coming up, at the same time in terms of being YouTubers, which is really, really fun to see. But Luke TheNotable, if you want tips on how to play better, and maybe that can help you actually enjoy playing online, because I was really in a place where I just didn't want to do it, but I got so little value out of the campaign, I kind of forced myself into playing online, and now totally addicted. I love it. I have played days and days worth of Halo 5 online. So they recently have just done a beta test for a mode called Firefight, and this is a mode that came in a previous Halo installment. I want to say it was ODST, which was kind of this Halo offshoot, and it was a real fun game mode where essentially you would be in kind of a small arena and they would just send waves and waves of AI opponents at you in these hard bursts. So you would be taking on dozens and dozens of characters at the same time. It really helped if you had the right type of weapons, and they would sprinkle some weapons around the map. Some of the enemies would drop good power weapons, so you could pick those up and use them. Very, very fun mode. Well, now 343 Industries, the current people that are making Halo, have built a Firefight mode into Halo 5, but it's a little bit different. So if you know anything about Halo 5 online, there's basically 2 modes you can play in. There's the arena modes that are kind of traditional 4-player versus 4-player, or sometimes every man for himself. Games like Griffball are in the arena mode. Assault, where you have to essentially take a bomb to the enemy's base and stick it there long enough for it to go. Those are all kind of in the arena mode. Then you have Warzone, and Warzone is a big firefight. There's 24 players, usually 2 teams of 12 that go against each other. But now, with this new Firefight mode, it is 1 team of 8 Spartans, and I believe it's 8, and you're going against kind of the same idea as the old Firefight, just waves and waves of AI opponents. Some things that work really well are, first of all, that game mechanic, because you're not playing against other real people. There's this kind of mob mentality that happens with you and your team that you're playing with, and you run around as a pack and you just kind of take down, these waves of AI characters that are being dropped. The bad side against that is you're not playing against real people, which means the skill level to play this is much, much lower. I find myself not having to do nearly as many tricks or kind of, quite honestly, good Halo playing. If I'm being shot at by one of these AI guys, I can just kind of simply move off to one of the sides and usually miss their bullets. If you try that against a real person, they know you're going to move and they anticipate it, and they can basically keep drilling you while you move. One of Luke's tips is to strafe back and forth kind of in this real quick jerky motion to make it really hard for them, which is a skill that I've been working on a lot while I play against human players. But in this game mode, you just didn't need it, so it kind of makes you a little bit of a lazier player in one way. Also, I'm glad that they released this and are calling it a beta, because there was definitely some balance problems. Essentially, Firefight happens in 5 waves of horde attacks, and those 5 waves are supposed to be getting progressively harder and harder and harder, and that wasn't the case. There was some games where the first 4 waves all felt extremely easy, and then the 5th wave would just be super difficult. As the weekend went on, I don't know if they were making tweaks as the weekend went on or if it was just how the games were randomizing, but I did finally start getting some games where the earlier modes seemed a little bit more difficult, and it was starting to feel like it was getting progressively more difficult as the waves went on, but it was just really in a few small doses. I don't think it's working quite as well as they want it to. Also, a big part of the problem for me with this new mode is the maps are way too big. There would be times where I would know that there's fighting going on, but it would respawn me on the other side of the map, and I would have to walk for what seemed like minutes to try to get to where the fight was. And by the time I got there, most of the other Spartans had already cleaned it up, and maybe I'm killing 1 or 2 of the enemy AIs that are left. I really wish that they would kind of section off the maps and just use a smaller section of it, and then that way they can concentrate the enemies all dropping into that section, because the Warzone maps are huge. They're literally made to be a war zone, 24 players all going against each other using vehicles and stuff like that. So they're very, very spacious, and it just didn't really lend itself well for me to Firefight, to keeping that tempo of, oh my god, how am I going to keep defending myself against these waves? It's just they're getting worse and it's getting harder and there's no way I'm going to make it. I never really had that feeling in this version of Firefight, and that was a regular feeling that I really enjoyed from the old one. It would just get so frantic, you would be like, there's no way I'm going to make this, how am I going to survive? And then when you would edge that out and do it, it would be very gratifying. That gratification just not quite happening here. So I hope that they're going to listen to the feedback on this. Apparently they had a couple channels where you could send feedback. I'm sure everyone's saying the same thing that I did. The game is kind of unbalanced. The enemy AI might be playing a little too simply, and overall there's just not a whole lot of characters that they're pulling from for the enemy AI. So you wind up killing the same types of characters over and over and over. And I had this problem with the main game too. They've made this new class of enemies, and they're just relying on those enemies, and it's really only like 3 or 4 character models. Well, in this one they changed the color and make them a bit harder. Well, yeah, but it's still the same enemy models. So I hope that they'll dig in, maybe design a couple new enemies and release those as well. Because I think they really are close to having something cool here that might have been something maybe for old John, who didn't want to play against other people all the time. This would be a great kind of middle ground for someone that maybe did play through the campaign but doesn't want to go head to head in this very competitive player versus player situation. It's a good stepping stone into online play. So I do think there's value in it, but I think Luke TheNotable might have already helped me grow past the point of that being my favorite game mode, or being a game mode that I play a whole lot. There was frequently times when I was playing where I was just like, okay, I'm ready to go back to regular online mode and get some real good competition going, even if I'm going to get my butt handed to me, because it just forced me to play better. And that's what it's all about, right? I don't know. So tell me what you think. Did you participate in the Halo Firefight beta? Have you played Firefight before? Drop it in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Also, people do occasionally ask if they could play with me. There's something weird with my profile. I had set my profile to private a long time ago on like Xbox 360, and for some reason, no matter what switches I toggle, I can't seem to undo that on Xbox One. But I might try to kick up. If you guys tell me in the comments that you want to try to get a game together, that if there's enough of you out there, I'll pick a night and set up a time and see if I can make myself public, and if not, we'll figure out some other way for you guys to attach to a game with me, and maybe we'll all play together. Sound cool? I think it'd be some fun. Thank you so much for joining me on the Geek Corner. I will catch you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Have a great day.